Hey guys, today we're driving the all-new 2023 Chevrolet Colorado Trail Boss. So, the Colorado starts at around $30,000, a little bit over. This Trail Boss starts at 37 grand with a few options. This is about 41,000 bucks. We get a 2.7 liter turbocharged inline four-cylinder that makes 310 horsepower, 390 pound-feet of torque. In the lower trims, it makes a little bit less power. In the ZR2, it makes even more torque. So pretty torquey turbo four-cylinder, made it to an 8-speed automatic transmission. You can get this in rear-wheel drive. You can get this in four-wheel drive. Of course, this has a bunch of drive modes for off-roading, towing, driving around town. This is 2 high, 4 low, and then a limited slip differential in the rear. This Trail Boss is meant to be a little bit more off-road focused for a bit more affordable of a price than the ZR2. It's got kind of a simple, basic, bare bones interior, a lot of plastic, a lot of injection molding. If you can live with that, it's actually a pretty cool truck. Let's walk you around it. We'll talk about what it's been like to live with this week, and then we'll take it for a drive and give you guys some driving impressions. This Colorado Trail Boss is painted in nitro yellow metallic, which in the daylight is a really sharp looking color. It really grabs a lot of attention. Plenty of people have commented on it this week walking past. I think it's a cool looking color. Adds a bit of pizzazz and styling to this truck. And otherwise, as far as the styling goes, I think this looks pretty good. A bit more chunky, a bit more off-roady with these big flared fenders. We have 32-inch all-terrain tires on 18-inch wheels. You can also spec this with a mud terrain, but it seems like a pretty nice tire. Very comfortable and quiet on the highway with a bit more off-road capability than your standard all-season. The front end is very aggressive. You've got a Trail Boss logo here with kind of an intake port right here. A removable lower fascia for better approach angle. I like the hood. Driving this Trail Boss, the view over the hood is actually pretty neat. This comes in crew cab configurations with a 5-foot 2-inch bed. One of the options here on this Colorado is the spray-in bed liner. Looks pretty good. Lots of tie-down points. We've got some tailgate storage right here. Throw a couple things in there. And that locks with these pieces. Your measurement device right there, as a lot of new trucks seem to have. And then you can easily get into the bed with this grab handle and step. Cool. Pretty basic truck bed. Not much in terms of lighting. You probably get these to turn on, but you have to go into the infotainment for that. Sliding rear window. Always like to see that. And when you open it, it's damped, so it doesn't slam down. You can also lock it in kind of this somewhat half open position. I'm going to put larger pieces of wood in here or something like that. This Colorado can tow up to 7,700 pounds in Trail Boss configuration. The lower trims, the LT and the WT, are limited to about 3,500 pounds. But with the right towing package, this is class leading in terms of towing and hauling, which is pretty awesome. This crew cab has a decently sized back seat. I'm 5'10". This is my driving position. Only downside with a higher ride height of this Trail Boss, 9.5 inches of ground clearance. It's a bit tough to get up into this back seat without any grab handles. So if you're a shorter passenger, you might struggle a little bit. Otherwise though, it's pretty comfortable back here. Plenty of headroom. I had my son's rear-facing child seat in here earlier today, and there's plenty of room for my 5'5" wife to fit in front. No armrests or anything like that. These seats do fold up if you want a little bit more room this way and you want to store a couple tiny items underneath the seats, you can. Rear climate vents, cup holders. Again, pretty basic bare bones interior, but it's kind of functional off-road work truck spec, and in some ways I think that's pretty cool. Jack tools down there. Let's pop the hood, take a look at this 2.7 liter Turbo 4. This is rated for 17 miles to the gallon in the city, 21 on the highway. in Trail Boss configuration. Like I said earlier, a very torquey motor. Low down, it almost feels like a diesel. There's a lot of turbo whistle, a lot of just responsiveness, and then high up in their high revs, it really pulls. I like that Chevrolet has gone basically just with one engine configuration in this new Colorado. They've gotten rid of the turbo diesel, and they've gotten rid of the naturally aspirated V6, and we just have this 2.7 liter turbo 4, albeit with different states of tune between trims, but it's a really nice motor. It sounds good, and if you can get over the 4-cylinder nature of it, it's got a ton of power and capability. Capless fuel filler, that's nice to see. Good sized fuel tank in this. I don't know exactly how big it is, but getting over 400 miles of estimated range. Let's hop inside, let's take it for a drive. Sun's setting, it's getting dark. Really quickly, let's walk you around this interior. So, pretty basic steering wheel. In the Trail Boss, it'll only tilt, it won't telescope. You have to get the Z71 for that. We've got standard cruise control, distance control or following distance control, which just kind of tells you how far away you are from the vehicle in front of you. You could also do that by looking out the front window. It has collision mitigation assist, which I found very irritating earlier this week, so I turned it off. It was kicking in all the time, telling me I was about to crash into stuff when I wasn't. So a bit of an annoyance there, but at least it stays off after you've turned it off, though you do get a light on the dash. We have a couple different gauge displays here. You can see trip 1, trip 2, though you do have to go into the infotainment into a couple menus to reset the trips. You can't just do it with a quick button. Some things are like that in this new Colorado, where things that should be physical buttons, like your light controls, are in this 11.3-inch screen. For better or for worse, I'm sure you get used to it. You can see off-road settings here, pitch, roll, transfer case settings, steering angle, pretty neat. And there's this minimalist speedometer screen, and you can see TAC, trans temp, remaining fuel, coolant temp, and oil temp right here. This has the new Google Play infotainment system, so you get Google Maps as the native navigation, which is fantastic. CarPlay connects wirelessly. You've got a bunch of different settings, customizability in here. It seems to be pretty responsive, pretty stout infotainment so far this week. No bugs, no issues. Down here is kind of this camo textured piece for you to put your phone. Not a wireless charging element, though it is in the Z71. Nicely sized center console. Again, that camo lining in the bottom. It's rubberized and very grippy, so things aren't going to slide around in there. Here's what your key fob looks like. Pretty attractive. No complaints there. And let's see, let's get out of reverse here. Sound system, meh. It's okay. But again, definitely kind of a more basic, base level sound system in this Colorado. We'll do a little bit of a sound system test later. CarPlay is connected wirelessly and seamlessly for me all week. No complaints there. Okay, let's go for a drive. Pretty good visibility all throughout. Turn off these lights. Turning radius leaves a lot to be desired in this Colorado. You will be doing a lot of 3-point turns if you're going to be taking this thing off-road. I have not taken it off-road this week. I've been mostly on-road, and I've been doing a lot of 3-point turns. So, what's it like to drive? I like the driving position. I have a nice, tall, commanding view out of this truck. I love the view out of this hood. This shape here is just so cool. Really smooth powertrain. The shifts from this 8-speed are pretty seamless. And if you guys are wearing headphones, listening to the binaural audio recording here, you can probably hear a little bit of turbo whistle in the background. Kind of a fun motor in that respect. It sounds cool. It almost feels diesel-like, but with turbocharged power in the top end. I quite like it. This Trail Boss suspension is pretty nice. Again, we don't get the Multimatic spool valve dampers that we do in the ZR2, but this does have about another 1.5 inches of suspension travel over the other Colorado models, and it is tuned to be a little bit softer, which I like. What's handling like? Traction control buttons are flashing, our lights are flashing. Handles about like a truck. Feels pretty good though. Great power. I really like the size of these mid-sized trucks. They're not as small as they used to be, but they're easy to park. They feel about right placed on the road. I don't feel like this thing is too big or too cumbersome to drive around. It's been a real pleasure to live with this week. I've put a lot of highway miles on it, commuted in it, gotten about 19-20 miles to the gallon in this. It's reasonably quiet at speed, and it's just kind of easy to live with. All the controls and switchgear are nice and simple, intuitively laid out. There's a couple things that I wish were physical buttons and controls, like your trip reset or maybe even your light controls, but those are minor complaints. No paddle shifters in this Trail Boss. We just get steering wheel controls behind the rim, volume on the right, track selection on the left. Cruise control is easy enough. Just a simplified button layout there. Engage, disengage, set, down, resume, up, and adjust your speed. You can't skip 5 mile-an-hour increments. You can just kind of press the button continuously. Steering is light. Turn signal stalk is light. I have really good visibility out of this cabin. You can easily turn on and off your lane keep assist, your stop start, which has barely turned on for me all week. Stop start, even though it's mostly been engaged, hasn't really done much. This engine just keeps running, which is fine with me. Got some vehicle settings in here. You can go deep into some of these menus, but for the most part, you don't need to. There is an off-road page where you can see various different parameters, tire pressure, overlanding settings, compass. Easy climate controls here. I love that they've stuck with physical knobs. No frills, no heated seats, no ventilated seats. You have to go to the Z71 package for that. But you've got 2 knobs, one for temperature, one for fan speed, and that's pretty much all you need. Off-road drive mode, tow haul, terrain. I've just left this in normal. Again, we will be doing an extensive off-road test of the Colorado ZR2, and yeah, we'll give you guys some off-road footage in a couple weeks out in California. And if you guys want to see some off-road driving of the Trail Boss, I would highly recommend Tedward's video, which he posted about 6 months ago. Boy, that was a long traffic light. Alright, in tow haul mode, I assume this gives us a bit more throttle aggression. Oh yeah. Handling feels pretty good though. Steering weights up quite a bit around a corner. You can hear just a bit of complaining from those all-terrain tires. And this Colorado pulls nicely out of a corner. Oh yeah, we're holding our revs in tow haul mode. Very easy to switch drive modes here with this scroll wheel down here. One thing I do like about this Colorado is for night driving, you can easily dim your screens, your gauge cluster, and your infotainment screen with this slider just to the left of the steering wheel. That's a physical control. It's not hidden in the infotainment, and it works for everything, pretty much all the brightness in the cabin, which is great. I love that. Before we wrap up, while we're just cruising, let's do a quick sound system test. Go into CarPlay. We've got a volume knob right here at the top of the screen. You really have to crank the sound system to hear it, otherwise it's kind of quiet, kind of muted. It's okay, nothing special, but this will give you guys an idea of what it sounds like. Again, volume and track control behind the wheel is very nice. All right, guys, how can we sum up some thoughts on the new Colorado, specifically this Trail Boss trim? So the highlights for me, interior usability is actually pretty nice. I like the ergonomics of this truck. I think it looks great. It's an easy vehicle to live with on a daily basis, get into, drive. The tech works well enough. Infotainment is okay. I mean, it's very responsive. I think they've done a pretty nice job organizing everything. It's definitely one of the faster infotainments out there. Interior is kind of the only letdown. There's just a lot of plastic in this thing. For $40,000 or just shy of, I would like some nicer materials. Though, I get it. You're basically getting a base truck with some nicer features, some nicer powertrain options. And if you're going to be doing some off-roading and you're on a bit more of a budget, you don't want to swing for the ZR2, this will get you where you need to go. This has a ton of capability, and it looks, I think, fantastic on the outside. All week, it's been a great truck to live with. I like what Chevrolet has done here. This is a really nice option in the midsize segment. The placement of everything is just very nice, very intuitive. You really get used to living with this truck. There's a few little things I'd change and adjust, but for the most part, it's been great to experience this week. Let's walk around it one more time. We'll take a look at this nitro yellow metallic in the dark. I'm excited to drive some other trims of this new Colorado and eventually the GMC Canyon. But until then, those are some initial thoughts on the new Chevrolet Colorado Trail Boss. Yeah, it is a sharp looking thing. I like all the creases and lines. It's aggressive, but doesn't look too massive. Honestly, a lot of the trucks in this segment are starting to look very similar with all their widened fenders and their proportions, and this kind of looks a little bit, if you squint, it looks a lot like the new Tacoma, but you know, such is design these days. Another thing I appreciate is from some of my reading, apparently Chevrolet has done a lot of work making this 2.7 liter turbo very reliable. Time will tell, but they've done a lot of pretty extreme testing with this powertrain, and it seems like they've wanted to focus on durability and reliability with this just offering one engine option, basically, with different states of tune. This should serve you pretty well in the long term. Reverse camera looks good at night. Let's show you guys an example of this turning radius here. So we're going to want to pull into this very last parking space right next to the curb. Well, maybe a little bit over, because that's a tiny space, but I'm having to do a 3-point turn here to get in there. It's just a bit tricky. Wouldn't mind a bit more steering angle from this Colorado. Otherwise though, this drive's great. Suspension's comfortable, powertrain is nice and smooth, engines may be a little bit coarser and more industrial sounding, but the power's awesome and it makes some cool turbo noises with the windows down. And it's kind of fast. Compared to the previous Colorado with the V6, this is properly quick. Okay. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.